Happy Wednesday. Doug and Cindy here with Help Me Help Mama livecast live on YouTube. So hope you're watching us today, either live or later. Some of you will be watching this later today. So whenever you're watching, we welcome you and thank you for joining in and thank you for commenting. Um, Today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. Cindy's done a little bit of research on more so than me, but very interesting, called the RAISE Act, RAISE, RAISE Act. Sounds interesting.
It does, and I don't, I don't have it.
You
What
lost it.
each of those words means. The goal of the Raise Family Caregiver Act became law back in January of 2018. They put together an advisory committee, interviewed a bunch of caregivers, and the goal here is to help support family caregivers because having been through that, and neither of us had any medical background when we were our mom's caregivers, we realized how hard it was. Um, so the goal here is to help support these family caregivers. One of the ways they're going to do this is by assessing the needs. So think about it. Mom trips on a rug, falls, breaks her hip, goes to the hospital. What do you do?
You take her to the hospital, and
Right?
then while she's in the hospital, they're taking care of her. But when it comes for the day for her to go home, you
She's
thinking,
going to need rehab. What happens?
well, she may need rehab in a rehab facility, which means she goes from one building where nurses are taking care of her to another building where nurses are taking care of her. Or, like your mom, she may choose to get rehab at home, which case you're taking care of her and you're not a nurse.
Exactly.
So
Ex-
what do you do, right?
exactly. It was so with no medical background. I took mom home, and we had oxygen prescribed. We had a swallow. I insisted on a swallow test, so she had speech therapy. She had physical therapy prescribed. So there were going to be a lot of providers coming in and out of the house. I'd never experienced this. Didn't really know what to do. And the person who was creating this plan for mom gave me a list and said, "Here, pick a provider." And I'm going, okay. So having
Throw
experience,
darts, right?
throw
Like
a
you
dart,
throw a dart at a board and pick a provider.
pick a provider.
Because to most people, I mean, if you're not in the business, and how would you know? AAA healthcare or BBB healthcare.
Right,
I mean, they're
right.
just the whole list of healthcare companies. So how would you know? And a lot of times that's about the only instruction you got. Like pick one. So
Right, right. And no further education for me as the caregiver. So this is what RAISE is. The Family Caregiver Act is trying to do: assess the needs of the family caregiver, and basically can't educate you on everything that you need, but help point you in the direction of resources, education, give you people to help support what you're going to need
you know, in
in the
layman's
future.
in layman's terms, I think the purpose of this act was to tell you what to expect, when you went home. I was looking at the wrong place. Supposed to be looking at that little camera up there. If you wondered what I was looking at, I don't know. I was obviously looking in the wrong place. But it's to tell you what to expect when you take your loved one home, what to do, what to expect. It kind of reminds me of the time, you know, years ago when we had our first child. And so before we had our first child, Cindy and I had just been, it's this us living there at the house. And then we go to the hospital and have a child. And then we got ready to go home. And it's like, wait a minute, aren't we forgetting something? Oh, we're forgetting we've got a child now. So I remember that sinking feeling when the nurse comes and, hands us our baby and we're going home and like, wait a minute, we don't know how to raise a baby. We don't know what we're doing here. And that we had a book.
We had read books, yeah.
And yeah, but we, scared. What do we do? Well, we figured it out, and that baby lived through it. That baby's what, 30 something years old now, and we had another one that had three, and they all turned out okay. So eventually, we figured it out. But that kind of reminds me of the same thing when mom's declining, and you take mom home. Maybe she wants to do rehab at home, and I remember your mom, for example, just a simple example, they sent her home with oxygen. And so there she is, and the durable medical equipment people, rush in, rush out, leave all of the oxygen stuff. And I thought, well, how hard could it be?
Well, now
Well,
they did give us a 15-minute training and didn't stop to breathe the whole time they
yeah,
were explaining
and I don't
things.
think I was there when, anyway. But like the oxygen setting, what's it supposed to be? I don't know. And, well, ultimately we figured out. But I mean, some of that stuff is like, well, that was obviously important. But I
Yeah.
mean, some of it that you don't know how to do, you think you intuitively know how to do stuff, but you don't. And when mom goes home after being in a hospital, and the family is the caregivers, or a lot of times there's a combination of family caregivers and outside caregivers. You need to know what to do, what you're responsible for. Like you had to give your mom a shot.
Yeah, I
And,
hate needles.
a non-medical caregiver can't give shots. I mean, that's not something that, and unless they're
Hasn't
a nurse or
hasn't
something.
traditionally, and
Yeah.
probably shouldn't, but sometimes you have to. So, raise is a the Family Caregiver Act is to help family caregivers, um,
Help them to know what to do
help them to know
and
what to
have a
do.
game plan.
The assessment, and we're talking. We've got a lot of some fact sheets here from AARP, which is a wealth of information. Says the caregiver assessment is a systematic process of gathering information about a caregiving situation to identify specific problems, needs, strengths, resources of the family caregiver, as well as the ability of the caregiver to contribute to the needs of the care recipient.
So I wonder what that means.
So that means somebody needs to assess me before and the situation before I take mom home from the hospital. But they didn't do that when mom had her heart attack. I don't know of any. Let me see where it said they're doing this. They're instituting this in there. There it is. States have incorporated caregiver assessment in varying degrees in publicly funded long-term care services and support system, including Medicaid waiver, state plan services, which the only ones I'm aware of is through the waiver program, aging services, and others. So if any of you have had a caregiver assessment, please comment. We want to know if this is being incorporated. I think this is a wonderful thing. If I had had someone sit down with me and say, okay, you don't know anything about medical stuff, but we're going to send you home with your mom. She needs physical therapy, speech therapy. She's going to need to do exercise. She's going to need oxygen. You got to be real careful about what she eats because she has swallow issues. You got to take her medication on time. You got to watch and see what happens when she reacts to this medication. I'd be sitting there just blinking nonstop. If they'd told me all, I wasn't aware of all of that when I
And a
took her
lot of
home.
times they're so busy and they gotta like move you on out, and they're supposed to make sure that there's a plan and you understand the plan. But I think a lot of times it's like you say, they give you a ton of information in a very short time. And I'm just curious, those of you that are watching this today, um, have you had this experience? Have you been with a loved one in the hospital and been discharged, and mom wants rehab at home, and she's going to your home, or maybe she's going to your home, and or her home, you're going to be staying with her, and maybe you and several other family members rotating, and maybe you got non-medical home care coming in. Um, do you feel like you were adequately prepared to do that? Were you like, did they get you up to speed where you felt comfortable? Like, okay, mom's going home. I'm supposed to do this, this, and this. They explained how to do that. I think I can do that. I feel comfortable now that they explained it, and we're good. Or did you feel, no, not so good? Didn't really understand it. So let us know. Type in the comment section. Let us know uh, how you feel about that and what your experience was. Very curious.
Another thing I think they should address is the amount of time. There's a learning curve for those of us who have no medical background, having to learn all of this stuff. How much more time is it going to take you to learn this where you otherwise would have been at work with your family doing other things that you needed to do, but now instead of receiving some sort of training and knowing what to expect, you had to kind of learn by the school of hard knocks. So if if that happened to you, please let us know.
And you got a little fact sheet here again from AARP and interesting numbers
Yeah,
that in 2015 there was approximately 43.5 million uh, family caregivers. This is
unpaid,
family members that, yeah, unpaid,
unpaid.
that provided unpaid care for someone at home. 43.5 million to 2020, 53 million. So almost a 10 million increase in what, 5 years? 10 million increase in 5 years. And now, of course, it's 2021, so it's probably over 10 million. And I bet that number is low because we see so many people every week that they don't identify with the term family caregiver. I
Right.
mean, they're just that term never crosses their mind. They're just one of the kids, providing care for mom. Mom needs help. We're, do what we can to help. I can't even imagine how they know unless maybe one of the kids goes in and maybe the social worker counts it or something. And so, oh, one other thing. In 2015, 22% of Americans were caring with someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. 2020, it's 26%. So of the caregivers, 4% increase. So that means Alzheimer's, and we've seen those statistics before. Alzheimer's and dementia are like increasing, and this is brought out by those numbers. 4% more caregivers, family caregivers, are dealing with someone with Alzheimer's or dementia.
Okay, I think this is key. They agreed on fundamental principles of a caregiver assessment, and I definitely agree with a couple of them here. I think the the caregiver assessment should result in a plan of care developed collaboratively with the caregiver that indicates the provision of services and intended measurable outcomes. So I think one good place for this caregiver assessment is initially when you become a caregiver at the doctor's office, if to train the doctors to do this, to do the caregiver assessment and have these resources available for the caregivers, and then at the wellness checkup every year would be a place to update these assessments.
And a lot of times I think it's not that the caregiver is unable or unwilling to do something to help. Maybe they just don't have the time. I mean, it could be that, you know, um, they work 40 hours a week and they can't be there because they got to be at work and can't be in two places at once. They want to help mom. And we see them, well, mom can move in with me. Well, if husband goes off to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and wife goes to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and neither one of them get home till 5 o'clock at night, what happens to mom during the whole middle of the day
Yeah.
when no one's at home? Or maybe the kids get at home at 3 o'clock after school. Are the kids taking care of grandma? And, so who is there to help? And I think sometimes when they do these assessments, that would have to be one thing that they would consider. Like, is your mom's going to need care pretty well full time? Do you work? Are you going to be able to be there, full time to
Yeah.
help? And
Yeah.
if you can't be there, who's going to be there?
Yeah. Because mom may decline slowly, and you think, well, she's okay today, and tomorrow she's pretty okay, and the next day she's sort of okay. And at what point is she not okay? Uh, you need to be able to recognize that.
So, if you want more information on this RAISE Act, you can go to the
Google the the RAISE Family Caregivers Act.
yeah, some very interesting information, and or go to the AARP website, and there's a lot of good stuff there. And interesting.
It is.
And
it is. It's a great concept.
please let us know, what your experience is, because I imagine a lot of you have been through this, have been, something happened, mom fell and broke a hip, mom developed pneumonia, mom, whatever is going on, and she had to go to the hospital, and maybe she was discharged home. Do you feel like you were equipped, empowered, to do what you did, or did you just have to go home and kind of figure it out? So let us know. Very interesting. And I suspect we're not through with this.
Oh, no.
I suspect that's going to be tweaked more, and Congress is going to be more, is going to update this as time goes on. So anyway, thank you for joining us today. And please share this with someone. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. Help Me Help Mama YouTube channel. If you like this today, give us a thumbs up, and make sure and share this with someone else that you know that is helping a loved one at home. Caregiving can really be a thankless job, if you want to refer to it as that. I mean, obviously it's not a job, it's a labor of love. But, anyone else that that's going through this that may benefit from this information, please share this with them. If you're not receiving our newsletter, go to help.mom/cc. You can sign up for that. It's free. And so that would be a good thing too. But thank you for watching today. Have a great week.
And thank you for being a caregiver for your loved one. You're making a huge difference in their life.